The moment my 3-year-old daughter Lily looked up at Sarah with those big brown eyes and whispered, "Mama," for the first time, the entire restaurant fell silent. My heart stopped. Sarah's hand froze midway to her water glass. It was the word I'd been waiting for Lily to say since my wife passed away 18 months ago, but she chose to say it to a woman I'd only met 3 hours earlier on what was supposed to be a prank blind date set up by my so-called friends. If you think your life can't change in an instant, stick around for this story. I promise it'll be worth your time. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want more real-life stories that prove sometimes the universe has plans we never see coming. Come on, Jake. When was the last time you went on a date? I looked up from my laptop to see my best friend Marcus leaning against my office doorframe, wearing that smirk that always meant trouble. I'd known him since college, and 15 years later, he still had the same expression when he was about to drag me into something I'd regret. "I don't have time to date," I replied, gesturing at the stack of architectural blueprints on my desk. Between the Peterson project deadline, the Thompson renovation, and, oh yeah, raising a 3-year-old by myself, my dance card is pretty full. Marcus rolled his eyes. "It's been a year and a half, man. Melissa wouldn't want." "Don't." I cut him off, my voice sharper than intended. "Don't tell me what Melissa would want." The silence that followed was heavy. Marcus and I had been through everything together: college, my wedding to Melissa, the birth of our daughter Lily, and then Melissa's sudden diagnosis and death 6 months later. Pancreatic cancer. By the time they found it, it was already stage 4. 62 days from diagnosis to funeral. The fastest, slowest 2 months of my life. "Sorry," I said finally. "That wasn't fair." Marcus nodded, then pulled up a chair across from my desk. "Look, I'm not saying you need to find a new wife. I'm saying you need to remember you're still alive. When was the last time you did anything just for you?" I couldn't remember. Every minute was either work or Lily. I loved my daughter more than anything, but Marcus wasn't entirely wrong. I was existing, not living. "The guys and I found someone perfect," Marcus continued. "Just one dinner. Friday night. My sister will watch Lily. The guys set me up." I raised an eyebrow. "The same guys who thought it would be hilarious to send a singing telegram to my client meeting last year?" Marcus had the decency to look slightly embarrassed. "This is different. She's great. Smart. Funny. Works in publishing. And she knows I'm a single dad, right?" "Of course," Marcus said, a little too quickly. I sighed, already regretting what I was about to say. "Fine. One dinner. But if this is some kind of prank, would I do that to you?" Marcus asked, all innocence. "Yes." Repeatedly. "For 15 years. He grinned. "Fair point. But not this time. Friday at 7. Luciano's on Main." As he left, I had the distinct feeling I'd just been played, but I was too tired to figure out how. Friday arrived before I was ready. After a full day of client meetings, I rushed home to relieve Mrs. Patel, our elderly neighbor who watched Lily after preschool until I got home. Lily was in the middle of an elaborate tea party with her stuffed animals when I walked in. "Daddy," she squealed, launching herself at my legs. "Mr. Bunny missed you." I scooped her up, breathing in the scent of apple juice and the strawberry shampoo Mrs. Patel used. "I missed Mr. Bunny too. And I missed you most of all." I tickled her until she giggled, that pure sound that was sometimes the only thing that got me through the day. "Are you excited to go to Auntie Jen's tonight?" I asked as I helped her pack her overnight bag. Lily nodded enthusiastically. She said we can make cookies and watch Frozen. Again? I groaned dramatically, making her giggle. Yes, again. The snow never bothered me anyway, she sang, twirling around the room. I smiled, watching her. She looked so much like Melissa sometimes it hurt, the same dark curls, the same dimple in her left cheek. But her personality was all her own, a force of nature packed into a 3-foot-tall package. After dropping Lily off at Marcus's sister's house, and enduring Jen's knowing smirk and whispered, "Have fun tonight," I headed to Luciano's with a knot in my stomach. I hadn't been on a date since before Melissa and I got married 8 years ago. What did people even talk about on dates now? I arrived 15 minutes early, a habit Melissa always teased me about. "The world won't end if you're not early to everything," she used to say. I requested a table and ordered a glass of wine to calm my nerves. At exactly 7 o'clock, a woman walked in who made me do a double take. She was tall, with short auburn hair cut in a stylish bob, wearing a simple green dress that matched her eyes. She scanned the restaurant, and when her gaze landed on me, she hesitated for just a moment before approaching. "Jake?" she asked, her voice warm but uncertain. I stood up, nearly knocking over my wine glass. "Yes. You must be Sarah." She nodded, and as she sat down, I caught a flash of something in her expression. Surprise? Relief? I couldn't tell. "I have to admit," she said, picking up the menu, "when my roommate told me about this setup, I was skeptical." "Skeptical?" I asked, suddenly alert. "Why's that?" Sarah laughed, a genuine sound that made the corners of her eyes crinkle. "Well, she's married to one of your friends, Tom. And based on the stories she's told me about their pranks." "Oh God," I groaned. "What did they tell you about me?" She took a sip of water. "That you're an architect. A single dad to a 3-year-old. And that you haven't dated since your wife passed away." She paused. "I'm sorry about your loss, by the way." I nodded, the familiar ache in my chest present but duller than it used to be. "Thank you. It's been a process." "I can imagine," she said softly. Then, with a slight smile, "They also mentioned you're, and I quote, pathologically punctual and unhealthily obsessed with Frank Lloyd Wright." I laughed despite myself. "Guilty on both counts." "What else did they say?" Sarah hesitated. "That's actually where it gets weird. Tom told Ellie this was a joke setup. That they were sending you on a date with," she made air quotes, "the most boring woman in Chicago, as some kind of prank. Ellie was furious when she found out and called me immediately to warn me." I felt my face flush with anger. "I'm going to kill them." "That was my first reaction too," Sarah said. "But then I thought about it and realized. I'm actually kind of curious what makes me the most boring woman in Chicago." That's quite a title. The waiter arrived to take our orders, giving me a moment to process this information. My friends had set me up on a joke date. With a woman they thought was boring. Who was sitting across from me now, looking anything but boring in that green dress. After the waiter left, I said, "I'm really sorry about this. I should have known they were up to something." Sarah waved a hand dismissively. "Don't apologize for them. Besides, I'm here now, and I've already found parking, which in this neighborhood is practically a sign from the universe that we should at least have dinner." I smiled, feeling some of the tension leave my shoulders. "So, what makes you the most boring woman in Chicago? Do you collect thimbles? Give 2-hour lectures on the history of concrete?" She laughed again. "Worse. I'm an editor for academic textbooks. I literally correct footnotes for a living." "That doesn't sound boring," I said honestly. "That sounds meticulous and important." "That's very diplomatic of you," she replied. "But I know how people's eyes glaze over at parties when I talk about my work. What about you? What kind of architecture do you do?" And just like that, we fell into conversation. I told her about my small firm that specialized in sustainable residential designs. She told me about growing up in Michigan, moving to Chicago for graduate school, and staying for a job. We discovered we both loved old movies, hated cilantro, and had strong opinions about public transportation. By the time our entrees arrived, I'd forgotten this was supposed to be a joke date. Sarah was thoughtful, articulate, and had a dry sense of humor that kept catching me off guard. When she talked about books she loved, her whole face lit up. When I mentioned Lily, she asked questions that showed genuine interest, not the polite curiosity people often feigned about other people's children. "She sounds wonderful," Sarah said after I'd shown her a picture of Lily covered in finger paint. "How does she like preschool?" "She loves it," I said. "She's making friends, learning songs. The hard part is that she's starting to ask questions about her mom. Questions I don't always know how to answer." I hadn't meant to get so personal, but something about Sarah made it easy to talk. She nodded thoughtfully. "That must be incredibly difficult. Has she seen pictures? Videos?" "Yes, we have albums, and I show her videos sometimes. But she was only 18 months old when Melissa died. She doesn't really remember her. But she has you," Sarah said gently. "And you remember for both of you." Something about the way she said it, without pity, without awkwardness, made my throat tight. I took a drink of water to compose myself. "What about you?" I asked, changing the subject. "Any kids? Previous marriages? Secret life as an international spy?" She smiled. "No to all three. I was engaged once, in my 20s, but we wanted different things. He wanted to move to New York, I wanted to stay here. He wanted kids right away, I wanted to establish my career first." She shrugged. "It was the right decision, but sometimes I wonder what my life would look like if I'd made different choices." "I think everyone wonders that," I said. "Even when you're happy with your life, there's always the road not taken." "Robert Frost," she said, nodding appreciatively. "Though I always thought people misinterpret that poem. It's not really about celebrating the road less traveled. It's about how we rationalize our choices after the fact." "I never thought about it that way," I admitted. "But you're right." The conversation flowed easily through dessert, a tiramisu we shared, and coffee. When the check came, I insisted on paying. "This was supposed to be a real date for me, even if it was a joke date for you," I explained. "So please, let me." She acquiesced with a smile. "Thank you." This was unexpectedly nice. It was, I agreed, surprised by how much I meant it. "Would you, maybe want to do it again sometime? A non-joke date?" Sarah looked at me for a long moment, her green eyes thoughtful. "I'd like that. But Jake, I need to be honest about something." My heart sank. Here it comes, I thought. The gentle letdown. "I know what it's like to be someone's second choice," she said carefully. "I don't want to be a replacement for what you lost. And I don't want to rush into something you're not ready for." I was taken aback by her directness, but also impressed by it. "I appreciate that. And you're right to be cautious. I can't promise I'm completely ready. But I do know that tonight is the first time in a long time that I've felt present. Not just going through the motions." She nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "Then how about this, we take it slow. Maybe next time, something casual. During daylight hours. I know a great children's museum," I said before I could stop myself. "If you wouldn't mind meeting Lily. No pressure, just, she's a big part of my life." "I'd love to meet her," Sarah said, and I believed her. As we walked out of the restaurant, there was an awkward moment on the sidewalk. Should I hug her? Shake her hand? But Sarah solved the dilemma by pulling out her phone. "Let me give you my number," she said. "And maybe we can plan that museum trip for next weekend?" As I entered her contact information, I felt lighter than I had in months. Whatever prank my friends thought they were pulling, it had backfired spectacularly. Or maybe, in a way I couldn't yet appreciate, it had worked exactly as intended. The next morning, I woke up to 3 text messages from Marcus. How was your date with footnote girl? Did you die of boredom? Details man. I stared at my phone, torn between anger at the prank and gratitude for how it had turned out. Finally, I typed. You're an ass. But she was great. Taking Lily to the Children's Museum with her next weekend. His response came immediately. What? You liked her? This was not the plan. I smiled to myself and put the phone away without responding. Let him stew for a while. After picking up Lily from Jen's house, and deflecting her curious questions about the date, we spent Saturday at the park. As Lily chased pigeons and made friends with every dog she encountered, I found myself thinking about Sarah. About her laugh, the way she listened intently when I spoke, how she didn't shy away from mentioning Melissa. On Sunday evening, I texted her. Museum next Saturday at 10? Lily is very excited about the bubble room. Her response made me smile. I'm excited too. Though I should warn you, I take bubbles very seriously. It's one of my many boring qualities. The week crawled by. I found myself mentioning the upcoming museum trip to Lily, wanting to prepare her for meeting someone new. Daddy's friend Sarah is going to come with us, I explained as I tucked her in on Friday night. She's very nice, and she wants to see the bubbles too. Lily considered this information solemnly. Does she like dinosaurs? I don't know, I admitted. We can ask her. If she likes dinosaurs, she can be my friend too, Lily declared, then promptly fell asleep, clutching her stuffed triceratops. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of perfect fall weather that makes Chicago bearable, crisp air, golden sunlight, leaves just beginning to turn. I dressed Lily in her favorite purple overalls and tried not to overthink my own outfit, settling on jeans and a blue sweater Melissa had always liked. We arrived at the museum right at 10, pathologically punctual, as charged, and Sarah was waiting by the entrance, wearing jeans and a cream-colored cardigan, her auburn hair catching the sunlight. She waved when she saw us, and I felt a flutter of nervousness. This was different from a dinner date. This was introducing her to the most important person in my world. Hi, I said as we approached. Sarah, this is Lily. Lily, this is my friend Sarah I told you about. Lily, suddenly shy, pressed against my leg and looked up at Sarah with wide eyes. Sarah crouched down to Lily's level. Hi Lily. Your dad tells me you're an expert on bubbles and dinosaurs. I could use some help with both of those things. Lily's face lit up. You like dinosaurs? I do, Sarah said seriously. Especially triceratops. They have those cool horns. That's my favorite too. Lily exclaimed, pulling her stuffed dinosaur from her backpack. This is Tops. He sleeps with me. He's very handsome, Sarah said, examining the well-loved toy. It's nice to meet you, Tops. And just like that, the ice was broken. Lily grabbed Sarah's hand as we entered the museum, chattering about dinosaurs and bubbles and her friend Emma from preschool who had a pet turtle. I watched in amazement as Sarah listened to every word, asking questions and responding with genuine interest. She never talked down to Lily or used that fake enthusiastic voice some adults adopt with children. She treated Lily like a person, and Lily bloomed under the attention. We spent hours exploring the museum, building structures in the architecture room, where Sarah and I had a friendly competition over who could build the tallest tower, creating giant bubbles in the bubble room, where Lily shrieked with delight when Sarah showed her how to make bubbles inside of bubbles, and examining Foss. ILS in the dinosaur exhibit, where Sarah impressed both of us with her knowledge of the Cretaceous period. By lunchtime, Lily was completely smitten. When we sat down in the museum cafe, she insisted on sitting next to Sarah instead of me, and carefully explained the correct way to eat chicken nuggets, dip 3 times, not too much ketchup. You're really good with her, I said quietly while Lily was distracted by her chocolate milk. Sarah smiled. She makes it easy. She's amazing, Jake. So smart and curious. She gets that from her mom, I said automatically, then winced. Sorry. I don't mean to keep bringing up Melissa. Don't apologize, Sarah said firmly. She's Lily's mother. She'll always be part of your lives. I nodded gratefully, struck again by her understanding. After lunch, we visited the water play area, where Lily gleefully splashed until her clothes were soaked despite the provided smock. As I helped her dry off, she looked up at Sarah with those big brown eyes and asked, "Can you come to our house? I want to show you my room. It has stars on the ceiling that glow in the dark." I started to explain that maybe another time, but Sarah caught my eye with a questioning look. I realized I didn't want the day to end either. "Actually," I said, "would you like to come over for dinner? Nothing fancy, just pasta or something." "I'd love to," Sarah replied, and Lily cheered. My apartment wasn't anything special, a 3-bedroom in a pre-war building in Lincoln Park. After Melissa died, I couldn't bear to stay in our house in the suburbs, with its carefully planned nursery and the garden she'd loved. The apartment was a fresh start, closer to my office and to the preschool Lily would eventually attend. I'd done my best to make it homey, with comfortable furniture, framed architectural prints, and photos of Lily and Melissa throughout. As Sarah looked around, I suddenly saw it through her eyes, the basket of toys in the living room, the finger paintings taped to the refrigerator, the general lived-in chaos of life with a preschooler. "Sorry about the mess," I said, picking up a discarded sweater from the couch. "What mess?" Sarah asked, genuinely confused. "This looks like a home. A happy one." Before I could respond, Lily grabbed Sarah's hand. "Come see my room. Come see the stars." As they disappeared down the hallway, I heard Lily's excited voice explaining her stuffed animal collection and Sarah's attentive responses. I stood in the kitchen, a strange feeling washing over me, not guilt, exactly, but awareness. This was the first time since Melissa died that another woman had been in our home, interacting with our daughter. It should have felt wrong, but somehow, it didn't. I busied myself preparing dinner, spaghetti with a simple tomato sauce, garlic bread, and a salad. Comfort food that I knew Lily would eat. When Sarah and Lily returned to the kitchen, Lily was wearing her princess dress-up clothes over her regular outfit, and Sarah was sporting a plastic tiara. "Princess Sarah helped me clean up my books," Lily announced. "And she knows all the Disney songs." "Is that so?" I asked, raising an eyebrow at Sarah. She adjusted her tiara with dignity. "I contain multitudes." Dinner was relaxed and fun. Sarah helped Lily twirl her spaghetti on her fork, showing a patience I sometimes lacked after a long day. We talked about everything and nothing, favorite books, childhood memories, the best ice cream flavors. It felt comfortable, as if we'd done this many times before. After dinner, as I cleared the plates, Lily asked if we could watch a movie. I checked the time. It was already past her normal bedtime, but it was Saturday, and the day had been so perfect I was reluctant to end it. "One short movie," I agreed. "Then bed." We settled on the couch, Lily insisting on sitting between us. She chose Finding Nemo, a movie she'd seen at least 20 times but still cried during the opening scene. As predicted, within minutes of the movie starting, her lower lip trembled. "The mommy fish," she whispered, tears welling up. I reached to comfort her, but Sarah was already there, gently stroking Lily's hair. "It's sad, isn't it? But remember, Nemo still has his dad who loves him so much. And they find each other again." Lily nodded, leaning against Sarah's arm. "Like me and Daddy. Mommy had to go away, but Daddy takes care of me." I felt my throat tighten. Lily rarely talked about Melissa so directly. "That's right," Sarah said softly. And your mommy would be so proud of what a brave, smart girl you are. Lily looked up at her with those solemn eyes. Did you know my mommy? Sarah shook her head. No, I didn't have the chance to meet her. But your daddy has told me what a wonderful person she was. Lily nodded, processing this. Daddy has pictures. Want to see? Before either of us could respond, Lily slid off the couch and ran to the bookshelf, returning with the photo album I'd put together after Melissa died. My heart raced as she climbed back between us and opened it to the first page, our wedding photo. That's my mommy, Lily said proudly, pointing to Melissa in her white dress, her dark curls piled on her head, her smile radiant. She was pretty. She was beautiful, Sarah agreed, her voice gentle. You have her smile. Lily beamed at this comparison, then turned the page to show more photos. Melissa pregnant, Melissa holding newborn Lily, Melissa and me at the beach during our last summer together. I watched Sarah's face as she looked at these images of my past life, searching for discomfort or jealousy, but saw only warmth and respect. When Lily yawned halfway through the album, Sarah suggested we finish looking another time. But I'm not tired, Lily protested, even as her eyelids drooped. How about I read you one story before bed? Sarah offered. If that's okay with your dad. I nodded, grateful. That would be great. I listened from the hallway as Sarah read Goodnight Moon, doing all the different voices that Lily loved. By the time she finished, Lily was nearly asleep. Good night, sweet girl, Sarah whispered, tucking the covers around her. Night, Sarah, Lily murmured. Then, as Sarah turned to leave, I like you. You're nice like my mommy was. I saw Sarah pause in the doorway, clearly moved. That's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me, she replied softly. I like you too, Lily. Very much. When she joined me in the living room, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. She's incredible, Jake. You're doing an amazing job with her. Thank you, I said, meaning it. For today, for being so good with her, for understanding about Melissa. Sarah sat beside me on the couch. Can I ask you something? And feel free not to answer. I nodded. Do you think Melissa would mind? This, she gestured between us, whatever it is we're starting here? I considered the question seriously. Melissa and I actually talked about it once, after we found out she was sick. She made me promise not to become a hermit, to find happiness again someday. I didn't want to hear it then. I took a deep breath. But no, she wouldn't mind. She'd want Lily to have people in her life who care about her. And she'd want me to live, not just exist. Sarah reached for my hand, her touch warm and reassuring. I'm not trying to replace her. I couldn't, even if I wanted to. But I'd like to see where this goes, if you would. I interlaced my fingers with hers. I would. Very much. When I walked her to the door later that evening, our goodbye was a gentle kiss that held promise without pressure. As I watched her walk to her car, I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time, hope. The next few months unfolded in a series of moments that gradually wove Sarah into our lives. Weekend outings to the zoo, the aquarium, the botanical garden. Weeknight dinners where she'd come over after work, sometimes bringing manuscripts to edit while I worked on blueprints after Lily went to bed. Movie nights where all three of us fell asleep on the couch. Sarah was careful never to overstep, always deferring to me on parenting decisions, but Lily increasingly looked to her for comfort and guidance. The first time Lily skinned her knee while Sarah was with us, she ran to her for comfort as naturally as she would to me. My friends, especially Marcus, were stunned by the relationship. You were supposed to have a terrible date with Footnote Girl and appreciate us setting you up with someone better next time, he complained over beers one night. Not fall for her. Life's full of disappointments, I replied dryly. How will you ever recover from your prank backfiring so spectacularly? He laughed, then grew serious. She's really good for you, man. For both of you. I haven't seen you this happy since, well, you know. I did know. The guilt I'd initially felt about moving on had gradually faded, replaced by gratitude for this unexpected second chance. Sarah wasn't Melissa, and she never tried to be. She had her own strengths, her own way of loving us that complemented rather than replaced what we'd lost. 4 months after our first date, Sarah's lease was ending, and we faced a decision. It seemed too soon to move in together, but she was practically living with us already, with a drawer of clothes and her own coffee mug in the cabinet. What if I found a place nearby, she suggested one night as we washed dishes together. Close enough to be convenient, but still giving us our own space. It was a sensible suggestion, but as I looked at her, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, cheeks flushed from the warm water, I realized I didn't want sensible. Or you could move in here, I said, surprising myself with the certainty in my voice. If you want to. Her eyes widened. Are you sure? What about Lily? Lily adores you, I said. And well, I more than adore you. It wasn't quite an I love you, we hadn't said those words yet, but it was close. Sarah set down the dish towel and turned to face me fully. I more than adore you too, she said softly. Both of you. But moving in together is a big step. Life is short, I said, thinking of Melissa. Too short to waste time when you know something is right. She studied my face, then nodded slowly. Okay. Let's do it. But we should talk to Lily first, make sure she understands. The conversation with Lily went better than we could have hoped. She was thrilled at the idea of Sarah living with us all the time, immediately planning which toys she would share and which books they could read together every night. And you can help me with my hair in the morning, Lily said excitedly. Daddy tries, but he's not very good at braids. Hey! I protested, but I couldn't argue with the truth. Sarah moved in the following weekend, her belongings merging seamlessly with ours. Her books filled the empty spaces on our shelves, her throw pillows brightened our couch, her favorite tea joined our coffee in the pantry. It felt right, like pieces of a puzzle finally coming together. 6 months after Sarah moved in, we planned a special dinner at Luciano's to celebrate our anniversary. It was the first time we'd had a proper date night since she moved in, thanks to Jen offering to take Lily for a sleepover. Are you sure you don't mind watching her? I asked as we dropped Lily off. She's been a little clingy lately. We'll be fine, Jen assured me. She and Emma are already planning their pillow fort. Indeed, Lily barely looked up from her play to say goodbye, giving us each a quick hug before returning to her cousin. At the restaurant, we were seated at the same table where we'd had our first date. Sarah looked beautiful in a dark blue dress, her hair longer now than when we'd met, falling in soft waves around her face. Happy anniversary, I said, raising my wine glass. To the best joke date ever. She laughed, clinking her glass against mine. I should send Tom and Ellie a thank you note. Thanks for thinking I'm boring. Best insult of my life. We ordered the same meals we'd had on our first date, reminiscing about our initial impressions of each other. I thought you were just being polite, Sarah admitted. I figured you'd make an excuse to leave early. I thought you were way out of my league, I countered. I kept waiting for you to realize you were on a date with a sleep-deprived single dad who couldn't remember the last movie he'd seen in theaters. Well, now you're a sleep-deprived dad in a relationship who still can't remember the last movie he saw in theaters, she teased. Some things never change. After dinner, over dessert, I reached into my pocket for the small velvet box I'd been carrying for weeks, waiting for the right moment. My heart pounded as I placed it on the table between us. Sarah's eyes widened. Jake. I had a whole speech prepared, I said, my voice unsteady. About how you came into our lives when we least expected it but needed it most. About how you've never tried to replace what we lost, but instead helped us build something new. About how much Lily loves you, and how much I love you. Sarah's eyes filled with tears as I opened the box to reveal a vintage emerald ring, green like her eyes. I'm not asking you to be Lily's mother, she already has one, even if she's not here. I'm asking if you want to be my wife, and a parent to Lily in your own way. If you want to build a life with us, for however long we have. Sarah wiped away a tear, her smile radiant. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. As I slipped the ring onto her finger, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced since before Melissa got sick. Not because I'd forgotten her, but because I'd found a way to honor her memory while still moving forward. We decided to tell Lily about the engagement the next morning over breakfast. I was nervous. Despite her attachment to Sarah, this would make things official in a way that might be confusing for a 4-year-old. When we picked her up from Jen's, she was unusually quiet, clinging to her dinosaur and avoiding eye contact. Everything okay, sweetie? I asked as I buckled her into her car seat. She nodded, but her lower lip trembled slightly. Did you have fun with Emma? Sarah asked, turning in the passenger seat to face her. Another nod, but still no words. Are you feeling sick? I pressed, concerned by her silence. No, she finally said in a small voice. I just missed you. Sarah and I exchanged worried glances. Lily had stayed with Jen many times before without issue. We missed you too, Sarah assured her. But we're all together now. At home, I made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs while Sarah set the table. Lily sat at the counter, watching quietly, still subdued. Lily, I said as we sat down to eat, Sarah and I have something special to tell you. Lily looked up, her brown eyes serious. Last night, I asked Sarah if she would marry me, I explained. That means she would be my wife, and we would all be a family together. And she said yes. I waited for Lily's reaction, excitement, confusion, questions, but instead, her face crumpled and she burst into tears. Lily. I moved to comfort her, but she pushed my hand away. No, she sobbed. No, no, no. Sarah and I looked at each other in alarm. This was not the reaction we'd expected. Sweetheart, Sarah said gently, can you tell us what's wrong? Are you upset about me marrying your dad? Lily shook her head, tears streaming down her face. If you marry Daddy, you'll be my new mommy, she hiccuped. And then you'll go away too. My heart broke as I finally understood. Lily's only experience with a mother was someone who disappeared. In her 4-year-old mind, mommy meant someone who left. Oh, Lily, I gathered her into my arms, and this time she didn't resist. Is that what you're worried about? That Sarah will go away like mommy did? She nodded against my chest, her small body shaking with sobs. Sarah moved her chair closer, her eyes filled with tears. Lily, look at me, sweetheart. Lily raised her tear-streaked face. I promise you, Sarah said, her voice steady despite her own tears, I am not going anywhere. Your mommy didn't want to leave you. She got very sick, and the doctors couldn't make her better. But I'm healthy and strong, and I plan to be here for you and your daddy for a very, very long time. Promise? Lily whispered. I promise, Sarah said, holding out her pinky finger. Pinky promise, which is the most serious kind. Lily linked her tiny finger with Sarah's, then looked at me. Daddy, will Sarah be my mommy now? I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. Sarah will be your stepmom, which is a kind of mom. You already have a mommy who loved you very much, and she'll always be your mommy, even though she's not here. Sarah will love you and take care of you in her own special way. Like 2 different kinds of love? Lily asked, her tears subsiding. Exactly, Sarah said. Your mommy will always be in your heart. And I'll be here to help you with braids and read you stories and love you every day. Lily considered this, her face serious. Can I still call you Sarah? Of course, Sarah replied without hesitation. You can call me whatever makes you comfortable. Lily nodded, seemingly satisfied. Then she noticed Sarah's ring, the emerald catching the morning light. Pretty, she said, touching it gently. Green like your eyes. That's why your dad picked it, Sarah smiled. He's pretty smart sometimes. That made Lily giggle, the tension finally broken. Can I have more pancakes? With extra syrup? Extra syrup coming up, I said, relieved by her return to normalcy. As I refilled her plate, I caught Sarah's eye across the table. The love and understanding I saw there filled me with gratitude. She got it, all of it. The complexity of building a new family while honoring what came before. The delicate balance of Lily's needs and emotions. The patience required to navigate it all. The weeks that followed were busy with wedding plans and everyday life. We decided on a small ceremony in the spring, just family and close friends. Lily was thrilled to be the flower girl and took her role very seriously, practicing her petal-throwing technique in the living room until we were finding dried rose petals in the couch cushions for days. One evening in late February, about 2 months before the wedding, we decided to try a new Italian restaurant that had opened near our apartment. It was a cozy, family-friendly place with checkered tablecloths and a wood-fired pizza oven visible from the dining room. Lily was in a particularly good mood, chattering about her day at preschool as we were seated. And then Emma said her goldfish can do tricks, but I think she's making it up because fish don't have arms to do tricks with. That's very logical, Sarah agreed, helping Lily with her napkin. Although some fish can jump out of the water, which is kind of a trick. Really? Lily's eyes widened. Can we get a fish that jumps? We'll discuss pets after the wedding, I said, having successfully delayed this conversation several times already. Our server approached, a friendly older woman with a thick Italian accent. What can I get for this beautiful family tonight? I want spaghetti. Lily announced before either of us could speak. With lots of meatballs. Excellent choice, little one, the server smiled. And for Mama and Papa? I opened my mouth to correct her assumption, but before I could, Lily spoke again. She's not my mama yet, Lily said matter-of-factly. But she will be after they get married. Right now she's just Sarah. The server looked momentarily flustered. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's fine, Sarah assured her with a warm smile. No offense taken at all. We ordered our meals, pizza for Sarah and me to share, spaghetti for Lily, and the server hurried away, still looking embarrassed. You handled that very diplomatically, I told Lily, impressed by her clear explanation. She shrugged, reaching for her chocolate milk. Emma's dad got married again, and now she has a stepmom and a regular mom. She explained it to me. Sarah and I exchanged amused glances over Lily's head. Sometimes we underestimated how much she absorbed from her friends and the world around her. Our food arrived, and we settled into the comfortable routine of a family dinner, cutting Lily's spaghetti into manageable bites, sharing the last slice of pizza, negotiating how much of her dinner she needed to eat before dessert was an option. As Sarah helped Lily twirl pasta onto her fork, I watched them together, heads bent close, Sarah's patient instructions, Lily's determined concentration. The love between them was palpable, different from but no less real than the bond Lily and I shared. Halfway through the meal, Lily dropped her fork with a clatter. I need to go potty, she announced with the urgency particular to preschoolers. I'll take her, Sarah offered, already standing up. We'll be right back. I watched them weave through the tables toward the restrooms at the back of the restaurant, Sarah holding Lily's hand, leaning down to hear something Lily was saying. My heart swelled with love for both of them. They returned a few minutes later, Lily skipping ahead, Sarah following with a strange expression on her face, a mixture of shock and something I couldn't quite identify. Everything okay? I asked as they sat down. Sarah nodded, but her eyes were bright with unshed tears. I washed my hands all by myself, Lily reported proudly. With soap and water. Good job, I praised her, still watching Sarah with concern. Did something happen? Sarah shook her head slightly, a signal that we'd talk later. I let it go, turning my attention back to Lily's detailed description of the fancy soap dispenser in the bathroom. It wasn't until later that night, after Lily was asleep, that Sarah told me what had happened. When we were washing hands in the bathroom, she said, curling up next to me on the couch, Lily looked up at me in the mirror and said, "When you marry Daddy, can I call you Mom sometimes?" Not all the time, but maybe when I feel like it. My breath caught. What did you say? I told her she could call me whatever made her heart happy, Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. And that I would be honored if she wanted to call me Mom sometimes. I pulled her close, overwhelmed by the significance of this moment. Are you okay with that? It's a big responsibility. I've never been more okay with anything in my life, she whispered. I love her so much, Jake. Not because she's part of you, but for herself. For who she is. I kissed her then, trying to convey all the gratitude and love I felt. You're extraordinary, you know that? She smiled against my lips. Not bad for the most boring woman in Chicago, huh? Our wedding day dawned clear and warm, a perfect April Saturday. We'd chosen a small garden venue, with the ceremony and reception in the same location to make it easier with Lily. My parents had flown in from Arizona, and Sarah's family had come from Michigan. Our friends, including the pranksters who had inadvertently brought us together, were all there to celebrate. I stood at the front of the garden, Marcus beside me as best man, watching as Lily made her entrance. She took her flower girl duties extremely seriously, carefully dropping rose petals at measured intervals down the aisle, her face a study in concentration. She wore a lavender dress that matched the bridesmaids and had insisted on a crown of fresh flowers instead of a traditional headband. When she reached the front, she gave me a solemn thumbs up before taking her place next to Jen, who was serving as both bridesmaid and Lily Wrangler for the ceremony. Then the music changed, and everyone stood as Sarah appeared at the end of the aisle. She was breathtaking in a simple ivory gown, her auburn hair swept up with a few tendrils framing her face. She carried a bouquet of wildflowers, and her smile when our eyes met made my heart race. As she walked toward me, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. For my friend's ridiculous prank that brought her into our lives. For her patience and understanding as we navigated the complexities of building a new family. For the love she showed Lily, respecting Melissa's memory while creating her own relationship with my daughter. The ceremony was brief but meaningful. We'd written our own vows, and when it was my turn, I spoke from the heart. Sarah, you came into our lives when we least expected it but needed it most. You've shown me that it's possible to honor the past while embracing the future. You've loved Lily with such generosity and grace, never trying to replace what she lost but instead giving her something new and beautiful. I promise to love you, support you, and build a life with you filled with laughter, honesty, and adventure. I promise to remember how lucky I am every day that a joke date turned into the best thing that ever happened to us. Sarah wiped away a tear before beginning her own vows. Jake, loving you has taught me that the heart has an infinite capacity for love. That new love doesn't diminish what came before, but adds to the tapestry of a life well lived. I promise to walk beside you through whatever life brings, to be your partner, your friend, and your safe harbor. And Lily, she turned to include my daughter, who was watching with rapt attention, I promise to love you with my whole heart, to honor your mother's memory, and to be there for you always, whether you need a hug, a story, or someone to help with those tricky braids your dad can't quite master. That earned a laugh from the guests and a vigorous nod from Lily. When it came time for the rings, Lily stepped forward with the pillow, beaming with pride at her important role. As I slipped the gold band onto Sarah's finger, joining it with her emerald engagement ring, I felt a sense of completion. After the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, and we shared our first kiss as a married couple, I knelt down to Lily's level. What do you think, kiddo? Should we have a family hug? She nodded enthusiastically, and Sarah joined us in a three-way embrace that felt like a promise. We were a family now, officially and completely. The reception was joyful and relaxed, with good food, dancing, and heartfelt toasts. Marcus managed to both roast me and move me to tears in the same speech, concluding with, "To Jake and Sarah, proof that sometimes the best pranks are the ones that backfire completely." As the evening progressed, Lily began to fade, the excitement of the day catching up with her. Sarah noticed first, always attuned to Lily's needs. "I think someone's ready for bed," she said, nodding toward Lily, who was struggling to keep her eyes open at the children's table. "I'll take her up to the room," I offered, as we'd booked rooms at the adjacent hotel for the night. "No, let me," Sarah said. "You stay and enjoy. We'll have our whole lives for parties, but these quiet moments are special too." I watched as she gathered Lily into her arms, my daughter's head resting trustingly on her shoulder. They made a beautiful picture, Sarah in her wedding dress, Lily in her flower girl outfit, both of them slightly disheveled from a day of celebration. "Need help?" I asked as they passed by. "We've got this," Sarah assured me. "Right, Lilybug?" Lily nodded sleepily, then reached out to pat my cheek. "Night, Daddy. I love you." "Love you too, sweetheart. Sleep tight." As they headed toward the exit, I heard Lily's drowsy voice, "I had the best day ever." "Me too," Sarah replied, adjusting Lily more comfortably in her arms. And then, so quietly I almost missed it, Lily murmured, "Night, Mom. Love you." Sarah's step faltered for just a moment, and even from a distance, I could see the emotion on her face. She pressed a kiss to Lily's forehead and whispered something I couldn't hear. Later, when I came up to the room, I found them both asleep on the king-sized bed, still in their fancy clothes, Lily curled against Sarah's side like she'd always belonged there. I changed quietly and slipped in beside them, my new wife and my daughter, my family. As I drifted off to sleep, I thought about the journey that had brought us here, from grief to healing, from a joke date to true love, from broken to whole again in a different way. I thought about Melissa, and how she would approve of the family we'd become. I thought about Sarah, and the gift she'd given us by loving us exactly as we were. And I thought about Lily, who had taught me the most important lesson of all, that the heart is resilient, that love multiplies rather than divides, and that sometimes the most profound words can come from the smallest people. Mom. Such a simple word, but in my daughter's voice, directed at the woman who had chosen to love her, it was everything. If you'd told me 3 years ago that my friend's idea of a prank would lead to the happiest chapter of my life, I would have laughed in disbelief. But here we are, a family built from loss and found in unexpected places, stronger for the journey we've taken. Sarah wasn't a replacement for what we lost. She was something entirely new, a different kind of love that complemented rather than erased our past. And Lily, with the wisdom children sometimes possess, understood this better than anyone. She knew that calling Sarah Mom didn't diminish her first mother's memory, it honored the love she'd found again. Life doesn't always follow the path we expect. Sometimes it takes detours through heartbreak before leading us to joy. Sometimes the joke is on us, in the best possible way. So if you're watching this and feeling lost, or wondering if happiness is possible after loss, or waiting for a sign that it's okay to move forward, let this be it. Your story isn't over. Your heart has room for more love than you can imagine. And sometimes, the most beautiful beginnings come disguised as endings. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more real-life stories that remind us of the resilience of the human heart. And remember, the universe has a way of bringing us exactly what we need, often when we least expect it.